Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to my colleague, Senator Whitehouse, not just for those kind words, but for all of the work that you have done and continue to do. For the last 6 years, Senator Whitehouse has come to the floor of this Senate week after week, every week, to talk about climate change, to talk about its effects throughout the United States and around the globe, and our need to take action to address this crisis. So thank you very much, Senator Whitehouse, for your leadership. Climate change is real, and it's a present threat to our planet. Senator Whitehouse talked about some of the science involved with that. It's very clear to anybody who has looked at the science, who doesn't have a political agenda, that this is real, it's a threat, we need to address it. And in New Hampshire, we're already seeing the impacts of climate change in so many ways. Rising temperatures are shortening our fall foliage season, they're disrupting our maple syrup production, they're shortening our ski seasons and our snowmobiling. Ice out occurs earlier each year on our lakes. They're causing sea level rise that can imperil businesses and homes along our seacoast. And the strains on our fisheries and the increases of insect-borne diseases that endanger our wildlife can all be tied to the effects of climate change. And I have here a photo that I think it's important for people to see. You know, moose has been one of New Hampshire's iconic wildlife representatives, to put it, I guess, the easiest way. The moose are something that we're very proud of in New Hampshire. We have seen them in the wildest parts of our state, some even as far south as where I live in southern New Hampshire. And what we're seeing as the result of climate change is a 40% reduction in the moose in New Hampshire. And that's happening because, as I said, increases in insect-borne diseases. If you look very closely, this picture, which looks like there are these little round balls on this moose, those are ticks. Those are ticks that have been able to attach to the moose and in so many cases kill moose, and they're there because it's not getting cold enough in our winters to kill off those ticks. And so they multiply in such numbers that they attach to the moose and they kill them. And you can see this is a distressed moose who has been affected by those ticks. She shouldn't look like this, but it's the ticks. They're also responsible, those insect-borne diseases, there's something called brainworm that affects moose as well. So for our hunters and the people who enjoy the outdoors, wildlife viewing, that's being threatened now because of climate change. The beautiful maples that produce maple syrup, that cause such beautiful colors in our fall foliage, those are being threatened because of climate change. And the estimate is that in several decades, we will no longer see either moose or maple trees in New Hampshire because they will have been forced out because warming temperatures mean that they can no longer survive. Now, climate change is also affecting the public health of New Hampshire citizens. Rising temperatures increase smog levels. They heighten the effects of allergy season. They increase the number of children with asthma. New Hampshire has one of the highest childhood asthma rates in the country, and that's gotten worse because of climate change. Scientists have proven without a doubt that CO2 and other greenhouse gases are the primary culprits for the climate changes that we are seeing, and that human activity has increased the concentration of these greenhouse gases. And if we're going to stop global warming, the United States must reduce its greenhouse gas emissions in every sector, starting with how we produce and consume energy. And one of the things that I have learned since my days as governor is that the easiest, fastest way to reduce our energy use is through energy efficiency. It is, without a doubt, America's largest energy resource. It contributes more to our nation's energy needs over the last 40 years than any other fuel source. Without the economy-wide improvements in energy efficiency made since 1973, it's estimated that today's economy would require 60% more energy than we're now consuming. And in fact, savings from energy efficiency improvements over the last 40 years have reduced our national energy bill by an estimated $800 billion with a B, all while growing and expanding our economy. And if you put that in another way, in the last 40 years, we have saved more energy through energy efficiency than we have produced through fossil fuels and nuclear power combined. So think about that. Think about the potential of energy efficiency in addressing our energy needs. It's also the largest sector within the U.S. clean energy economy. It employs nearly 2.25 million Americans nationwide, and the majority of those people work in our small businesses. And we know that small businesses create about 2/3 of the new jobs in this country, that they are responsible overwhelmingly for innovation. 16 times more patents are produced by small businesses. So this is where innovation is going on, and it's going on in energy efficiency. So to just reiterate, energy efficiency measures have proven time and time again to be the easiest and most cost-effective way to address climate change while reducing energy costs and creating private sector jobs. And the thing that I like about energy efficiency is you don't have to live in a certain part of the country. You don't have to be a proponent of other types of fuel sources to appreciate and to support energy efficiency. Everyone benefits from energy efficiency. Now, unfortunately, since he took office, President Trump and his administration have proposed policies that seek to undermine America's clean energy economy and delay our progress toward addressing climate change. The administration has proposed rollbacks to clean car standards that will force Americans to pay more at the gas pump and harm our environment. And here's a chart that shows very clearly what rolling back CAFE standards, the vehicle emissions requirements, would do. By 2035, the rollback would add at least 158 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. It would increase U.S. fuel consumption by 13.9 billion gallons per year. This is according to the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy. So if we think about that in terms of fossil fuels, this fuel consumption, that's more fuel than we import from Iraq or Venezuela each year. So think about what that will mean for increased consumption. Now, the administration has also proposed to replace the Clean Power Plan with regulation that would relax pollution standards for power plants at the expense of the health and well-being of current and future generations. Appliance efficiency standards have been frozen in place, and after 4 decades, with energy efficiency as a bipartisan cornerstone of federal energy policy, the President has once again proposed profound cuts to energy efficiency and to renewable energy programs at the Department of Energy. Now, for those of us who support energy efficiency, there can be only one response to these rollbacks. We must address them head on, and we must redouble our efforts to keep America on the right track. Now, as a result of bipartisan efforts in the House and Senate, and as I said, energy efficiency is one thing that we can get behind, Republicans and Democrats. And last month, the President signed into law a spending bill that includes increased investments for clean energy programs at the Department of Energy, something that had strong bipartisan support. In addition to increasing those investments, this legislation, this appropriations bill, marks the first time since 2009, so the first time since I've been here in the Senate, that the Department of Energy will secure its funding before the start of the fiscal year. And this financial certainty will strengthen these programs and the industries that they support. The passage of the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill that we did today demonstrates that Congress remains committed to advancing common sense bipartisan policies that will strengthen our nation's energy efficiency. And just last week, this Senate adopted a bipartisan resolution that was sponsored by Senator Portman of Ohio and me, along with 19 of our colleagues, that recognizes the economic and environmental benefits that energy efficiency has contributed to this country. Senator Portman and I are also committed to advancing our legislation to spur energy efficiency innovation and other initiatives across the most energy-intensive sectors of our economy. And Senator Whitehouse talked about the efforts that we have engaged in over the last 7 years. We've introduced our bill into Congress, in each Congress over the past 7 years. Each time, we're getting a little more momentum in getting this through. We've gotten certain provisions of the bill through in the last 2 Congresses. But it's been far too long since Congress passed a comprehensive energy bill. So it's time for us to work together to pass an energy bill that includes energy efficiency. This is bipartisan legislation. If it were brought to the floor today, I guarantee you it would pass overwhelmingly, and it would improve our nation's energy policies and help to grow the economy. And we have some great examples of what's being done. Senator Whitehouse talked about some of those, but what's being done around the country to address energy efficiency and reduce our energy use. New Hampshire, like Rhode Island, is one of the states that's part of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. At the state, local, and grassroots levels, individuals, businesses, and governments are rising to the challenge by intensifying their efforts to advance energy efficiency and clean energy. And we can see this shows what's happened in the states that have been part of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Carbon pollution has gone down 51%. Electricity prices are down 6.4%. And for us in New England, where we have very high energy costs, that's very positive. So if you don't support energy efficiency for any other reason, you should support it because it reduces your costs. And look at how much in energy savings to consumers, $773 million. Since 2009, the 9 states in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative have outperformed the national average in terms of all of these measures. Now, because the majority of RGGI proceeds are invested in energy efficiency, they have allowed electricity prices to fall, and they have saved consumers millions on their energy bills. And as we look in the out years, billions more are expected in savings, thanks to those investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy under the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. In August of 2017, RGGI's 9 states agreed to strengthen their program by reducing greenhouse gas emissions at least 30% more by 2030. New Hampshire and other RGGI states have shown the nation that states can make smart, clean energy choices that benefit the environment while strengthening the economy. And for those people who say we need a market-driven approach to addressing climate change, this is a perfect example of that. So, Mr. President, climate change represents an enormous challenge, but solutions are within reach if we put into place policies that will allow for swift action. Have a responsibility to help protect our children and grandchildren from the severe consequences of global warming. And we've got to start now, and we've got to start with energy efficiency. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor, and I would note that my allergies are a result of that climate change. Thank you.